Welcome to Getting Real with John Natale. I'm your host today, guys, John Natale, for episode 62 of Getting Real. Why are there so many real estate agents? Today's conversation is going to be about our industry. Why are there so many real estate agents? Why don't numbers come down with the amount of transactions that have come down these last 3 years? I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes look from a company owner of why I feel that real estate agent count is going to stay high, is probably only going to increase, and what you can do about it. Because that's the most important thing, right? We are going to talk about some industry-wide issues in this episode, but I'm going to also talk about at the end what exactly you can do about it. And before we dive in, I have to take a second to thank you for listening to this episode, for supporting our mission here at Getting Real and all of our Natale companies. Our mission is to fundamentally redesign the real estate industry so less agents fail and more agents find the life of their dreams with this awesome career choice. The reality is it's only gotten harder to find the life of your dreams in real estate. And this podcast is dedicated to helping agents succeed for absolutely nothing. We don't charge you anything. We don't have sponsors of this podcast. All we ask you to do is absorb the information. And if you could take it a step further, share this episode with a colleague, share it with a friend, share our podcast, share it to your Instagram story, rate us 5 stars wherever you are listening, subscribe, follow, do whatever you can to help further this mission. You guys have changed my life this last year, plus I'm hoping I'm helping change yours by giving out all of this information for absolutely free. If you want to take it to the next level, we have a few great options for you. If you're here in New Jersey, our real estate company is growing, Natale Realtors here at the Jersey Shore. If you are interested, we cover almost the entire state of New Jersey and what MLSs we belong to. If you are interested in joining our Natale family here in New Jersey, there is a link below. Fill out that form and I will get back to you by tomorrow to get the details on what you're trying to do to grow your career and how we could possibly fit it. If you are in one of the other 49 states or across the entire world, we have an unbelievable coaching program. We're now in 30 plus states, 55 agents across the country in just over a year from starting this. This is powerful stuff, guys. I've poured a lot of not only this knowledge into this podcast, into all my content, but into the agents that are in our coaching program. We have a ton of great options, no matter if you're a brand new agent all the way to running a $100 million team. We have an option for you. Go to natalecoaching.com. The links are below for wherever you are listening and or watching this, and go get some more information about what we're doing. All the pricing, what we do, how we do it, everything. We're in a complete open book, completely transparent. And at the bottom of natalecoaching.com, you can book a call directly with me. Lastly, we also just launched Natale Media. So if you're a real estate agent and or a business owner, say you always wanted to get into social media, you want a better website, you want Google pay-per-click, meta ads, we can kind of do everything plus also coach you on how to grow your personal brand. So say you're sitting there saying, you know what, I love everything, but you know what, I just don't have the time. I need someone to manage it all as well. That is what Natale Media is for. So NataleMediaHub.com, go there, check out what we do. Again, whether you're a real estate agent, real estate company owner, a business owner, I don't care. We can help you in terms of what I've done these last 18 months in growing my personal brand to grow all these businesses. This is what we're helping people do across the country. And again, you can check us out at NataleMediaHub.com. Now let's dive into why are there so many damn real estate agents. Transaction count in many areas has dropped 30, 40, 50, 60, even some places 70% of what it was in 2021. However, agent count has not dropped off. And a lot of people wonder how or why that is. Because the last time, if we peel back to early in my career, if we peel back to 2008, the numbers dwindled by about 20, 30, almost 40% of their peaks in 2005. From 2005 to 2012, the industry shrunk by almost half. Why? Because it was very hard to sell houses, move people, and do all the things that are actually challenging in today's market. We're on the total other side. Back then, it was obviously a severe buyer's market. Today, it's more of a severe seller's market. We're battling higher rates now. The challenges are different. However, the reality is the transaction count from what it was 2005 to what it bottomed out in 2009, 2010, 2011 is very similar to what has happened now. Now, I will add, because a lot of people say, well, the transaction count's the same as 2008. That is fine. Property values are also 5 or 6 times what they were in 2008. So if we're just talking about a baseline commission, your baseline commission versus 2008, and I get there's inflation, there's a ton of different things, cost of living difference, there's a whole different things. However, your typical commission is also 5 or 6 times higher because the average price is 5 or 6 times higher. But that still doesn't change the fact of how many more agents. Again, in 2012, there was just under 1 million agents left in the industry when the industry bottomed out and started its rise back up. Right now, we're sitting at 1.5, 1.6, almost 1.6 million NAR members and also about 2 million real estate agents. There's one real estate agent for every 7 adults in the country. It's actually kind of crazy when you think about it. So why is that? That's what this episode's all about. Why, even when the industry has gotten harder, why are increasing numbers happening? There's 2 sides to this story. And the reality is, I would argue, there really isn't that much more competition because the vast majority of people are staying licensed but getting out of the industry. You see, why there are so many real estate agents is real simple. It's a pretty low barrier of entry, if we're being honest. You got to take a state course, you got to pass a state test, and basically you're licensed as long as you have a driver's license and a heartbeat. So there's a low barrier of entry. So there's always going to be, turnover. However, why are people able to stay now? And why is this all fundamentally changing as the 2010s went on and into the 2020s now? When you have a low barrier of entry and also a low cost to get in, there's always going to be people coming in. But the reason so many people stay licensed, even if they're getting out of the industry, so say they were full-time in 2021, 2022, last year was a year of transition, and now they're actually doing something else, a lot of people will stay licensed. Why? Because it doesn't cost that much money anymore. You see, in the old days, and I have to really actually say like the old days, as in when I started my career in the 2000s, the reality was it wasn't that cheap to be licensed, especially for the amount of houses you could potentially sell. And also, and when I say cheap, I don't mean like in terms of dollars and cents you spend just to stay licensed. I mean in terms of commission splits. Because again, if you were at a 50-50, maybe if you were producing, you got to 60-40, in the 2000s and 2010s is when RE/MAX and Keller Williams came to prominence as a low-cost option versus a traditional brokerage. Again, up until that point, most brokerages were at a 50-50 split. You sold 5 houses, then you went to 55-45, sold another 5, you went to 60-40, so on and so forth. But the low-cost options like RE/MAX and Keller Williams, which is surprising for me to say, or for you to probably hear from me, solely for the fact they're not considered the low-cost option anymore. But they were the start of the low-cost option in the 2000s into the 2010s. Again, RE/MAX with their 95-5, and then Keller Williams with their 70-30 split, and then you could cap across the country depending on where you are. And that becomes a pretty big deal because that's the start of everything. Once you had a higher split arrangement, right, that was what changed. If I sold one house, I'd still pocket a good amount of it, right? I would stay licensed, and that's how Keller Williams grew to such prominence, if we're being honest, right? RE/MAX always was particularly towards a certain type of agent in those years, in the 2000s and 2010s, it was always geared towards a high-producing agent. Yes, it was a 95-5 split, but you also typically had $1,500 a month in office dues or desk fees, whatever, in order to compensate RE/MAX for their 95-5 split. But Keller Williams at 70-30, keeping fees low, and then the potential for 100% drew a lot of agents in during the 2000s and 2010s. And what that did was keep the agent mentality of, hey, if I only sell one house this year, okay, great. I'm just going to stay in because I'll still make money on my license. It might cost me $2,000 just to stay licensed, but if I sell one, $400,000 house, even after my split, I'm still going to make money for the year. So agents started staying licensed as the 2010s went on. You had a massive influx of agents in the 2020, 2021 market, and then we've kind of flatlined, and you would think it would actually plummet down. Again, transactions are down 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70% in some areas. But the agent count is staying the same, even here in a hyper-competitive market like New Jersey. So the low-cost options that came to fruition in the 2000s and 2010s is what started the trend. Now, what happened as we went on? In the 2010s, we got into some of these virtual brokers who kind of cut out the overhead, right? You got your EXPs came to the world, your Reals. Now you're a Peak or something like that, LPT. You got even more low-cost options as we go on. essentially brokerages are almost making it free for you to be licensed there, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. But when you're backed by private equity and all these other things, or you have a stock, that's what kind of changes things. They don't need to make money on real estate agents. They don't need to make money on splits. And so all these low-cost companies started coming in and then just got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper until we're at a point where I think within 2 to 3 years, there's going to be a brokerage option that literally doesn't even charge you $1. And that's okay. That's for that company owner to decide to do. However, the reality of the situation is it's why more and more people stay licensed. Again, if it's now cheaper on an annual basis in terms of fees just to stay licensed, plus, again, you're at EXP, you're at an 80-20. If you're at real, you're at an 85-15 split. It makes sense to stay licensed. I'm just being real with people. I'm not here to shame anyone. This is not a, get out of the business conversation. I'm explaining to you, someone who wants to build the life of your dreams, of why the competition hasn't dropped off. Because I'll be honest, by like 2012, 2013, 2014, when I would go out and call FSBOs, I was one of maybe 5 or 6 people that even did in my area. Believe it or not. Why? Because there were so few agents to compete with. Now, you dealt with a really hard market to get there, right? I dealt with 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, where most deals were foreclosures, short sales. People bought a house for $400,000. Now it's worth $275,000. It was a living nightmare early in my career. But by the time things started coming out of that, by the time the economy got a little bit better in the 2010s, the competition was so low. So the reason it's not happening today is solely because of that. Because you have a low barrier of entry, you have a low cost, and brokerages have made it damn near free for you to stay licensed. And that's why a lot of agents don't leave. Now, let's add another topic on top of there. Why have brokerages made it free? That's the next thing. And then there's also a big group that also profits from this whole scheme. Brokerages make it free because they take your data and they sell it to somebody else. If you look at a roster of a franchise brokerage right now, you look at an EXP roster, a real roster, you look at any single brokerage roster out there. There's about maybe 5% that produce, and then there's 90 to 95% that don't do a damn thing outside of maybe one deal a year. But here's what they can do with all that data. They could sell it back to somebody else. So they go to the title company and say, hey, we've got 400 agents here. How much are you willing to pay? Because again, you still have, even if only 10 agents are actually producing, you have 390 agents that maybe do 1 or 2 deals a year. Maybe 100 of them, 150, and that's still a lot of transactions versus a brokerage with 10 that every agent does 15 deals, right? It's the same amount. So it's valuable to these other types of entities, these other vendors. So title companies, home inspectors, mortgage companies, attorneys, all of these different moving companies, all of them, homeowners insurance. I can keep going on and on about how many people have a piece of the pie when it comes to a transaction. So all these companies now, if you're the company owner with 400 agents, you're able to sell that data back. You're able to say, hey, I have 400 agents. How much are you willing to pay me for that data? For this database? You could come to our office meetings. You could do this, that, and another thing. How much are you willing to pay me? And whether you think that's right, wrong, is your decision to make. I'm just explaining why there are so many real estate agents. Because if it wasn't profitable for that company owner, as someone who owns a company, if someone is not producing, it doesn't make me any money. So there's no reason for them to be there. There's no reason for me at my company. Yes, I talked about it earlier in this episode, right? Saying, hey, if you want to join our family here at Natale, but if you're going to sell one house a year, you're not for us. Like, we're not your company because I don't make money from that. And as a company owner, you're in it for profit. You're not there to use or abuse people by any means, but if you're trying to run a successful business, having people be at your company is a liability if they are not going to close deals and help people move. And the challenge a lot of company owners and a lot of brokerage owners have is they typically stopped selling real estate because either they were tired of it, didn't want to do it, were kind of sick of it, a variety of different reasons. But the reality is they keep so many agents on their roster because they're able to sell that data back to somebody else. And that is what ultimately proves and gives them a profit. And again, right, wrong is your decision to make. This is fundamentally why, from a brokerage owner standpoint, why it's profitable to keep so many agents on your roster as long as you're okay managing. As long as you have these relationships where all these other entities, you can make so much money owning a brokerage from all these other places and have no responsibility to your agents. And it's why, if you ask me why our coaching has been so successful, most agents who come into our coaching tell us the same thing. They get nothing from their brokerage because your broker doesn't really have to give you anything. There's nothing to provide because there's nothing really coming back because the low-cost option has kind of taken over our industry. Again, right, wrong, your decision to make. That is one big fundamental reason why. Is because from a company standpoint, you could sell that data to someone else and that will make you money. Next huge problem, because I don't want to just put this on brokerage owner and company owners, because that's not all of us, but it is a certain amount. It's how franchises are run. It's how virtual brokerages are run. It's how all of these other places are run. And you could, if you're at one of these places, you can get mad at me for saying it, but it's just the God's honest truth. Look at your roster. If you have 250 agents, I was at a franchise brokerage. Look at the 250 agents. You maybe have 10 to 12 that actually produce. The rest are like, how are they even licensed? Because they're just paying their MLS fees, their NAR fees. They're maybe closing one deal every 2 or 3 years, and it still makes sense for them to have their license. There's some tax advantages to it. Obviously, you can write off your business expenses even if you don't make money. There's a ton of different things you can do with a real estate license. So it does make sense, even if you're not selling houses, to stay licensed for both the agent and for the company owner. Next up, huge one, and the huge problem right now, in my opinion, is all of these other entities make a crap ton of money off of you as well. Your MLS. I don't know if your area is anything like ours. I have to belong to, like I said, we belong to most MLSs in New Jersey. I think we belong to 7 or 8. That's 7 or 8 memberships, cost a few $1,000s for me as a broker every single year. And then if agents want to join as well, it's obviously even, I shouldn't say even more, it's close to or a little bit less than what I pay as a broker. It's insane. But these MLSs, to get access so you could actually sell real estate in that area, require you to pay. It's almost like a cartel when you really ask, when you want to be real about it. It's literally almost a mafia. Because to be able to sell house in a certain area, if I want to put it up so agents in that area can see it, I have to belong to that MLS. And again, this was a practice that kind of made sense in 1992. Because in 1992, there wasn't this thing called internet where I could actually be somewhat of an expert in a different area, where I could look up all these comps, I could research the area, and then within about 6 hours of work, I can actually understand things pretty damn well as an agent outside of an area. So that's how many areas made it, especially when it came from the National Association of Realtors, why they did that. Because they fundamentally didn't want agents coming from outside the area that knew nothing and ruining the experience for people coming in. But times have changed. And now we still have all these MLSs that make so much damn money. And it's all for profit. And so for them, rather than charge the 10 agents that produce at a certain company $5,000 a year, they're able to say to everyone, hey, we only charge $300-400 a year. And then again, when you times that times 200 times it by 10,000, these numbers become staggering. Past the MLSs, and this is kind of involved with them, is NAR. How do you think NAR became worth billions of dollars? Because it doesn't seem bad to each individual agent. But again, there's 1.5, I think it's 1.5 or 1.6 million agents. Times that by $400 a year. And hello, $1 billion. That's the type of stuff that's happening. And that's the type of stuff, it would never pay for them to increase these fees so dramatically that only a few people can pay. Because everybody profits off the system as it is right now. Your brokerage profits. You do okay, if we're being honest, because if you drop down and don't do that many transactions or you're trying to break in, it's not overly costly. Your MLS massively profits and NAR massively profits. And by having all these agents, everybody wins, except you in your business. Because how many transactions go to, oh, hey, my cousin's licensed, so I just use them, and that was the only house they sold this year, rather than calling you the expert. That's what people don't realize is the negative possibility that comes from it. Where if you are the agent of choice in your market already, my Lord, what would you be doing if there weren't those agents snipping off 1 or 2 deals a year? And so what can you do about it? Let's end this episode here, because I gave you a lot of information about why the industry is the way it is. But what can you do about it? Because I love being tactful. First most important thing is you can overshine everybody in your industry, in your area, I should say. And how do you do that? You build a massive personal brand. Again, if you get above the weeds, where it's that blue ocean mentality, right? If you become the biggest personal brand on social media in your area, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. You really don't. Because your business will come to you no matter what, because it's going to be an attraction magnet business. So building a personal brand absolutely insulates you from worrying about this stuff at all. What else can you do? Another thing, very simple, provide an unbelievable experience for your clients. Don't give the opportunity for not necessarily your past clients, but when they go to meet a cousin, they go to a holiday party this holiday season, if you provided the best experience, and I mean truly the best experience, because a lot of agents think they're delivering a great experience, and they're not. I mean a truly great experience for your clients. They will be the biggest raving fans of you. And when they're raving fans of you, you will then have a business that comes to you. You don't give room for like when their cousin wants to sell, for them to be like, oh, I think my friend from work, I think has his real estate license. I don't know how much he does. It's no. You're going to call my guy. You're going to call my girl. You are going to call them and you are going to use them because they are the best and they're going to provide the best experience. If you build out a personal brand, if you deliver unbelievable results and an unbelievable experience for clients, you will win. And you deliver a personal brand by building on social media, using what is accessible to you today for free. And if you don't know how to do it, reach out to us. That's what we do. And also deliver an unbelievable customer experience. And that should be something you should be, right now, at the end of 2024, you should be diving into how you're going to improve your customer experience in 2025. You should be writing these things down. If you go back a few episodes to business planning for 2025, I have it in there. These are the things that will insulate you from having to worry about how many agents are in your market. It really doesn't matter. For me at this point, it really doesn't matter because I built such a massive personal brand. It doesn't matter. Agents can come in, can go. It really does not matter. Do I get every single piece of business? Absolutely not. Not even close to it. But we get tons and tons of people reaching out. We get tons and tons of referrals from past clients, people that we've won for before in our career, and it insulates us from having to worry about how many agents there are. So you can hold your opinions about what I shared today, and it's all perfectly fine. We can think it's right, we can think it's wrong, we can think it's a problem, we can think it's an issue, we can think it's great. It doesn't really matter. It's the reality, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. As much as even some of us that are, in the industry for a while wanted to, it's probably not going to change. So what can you do? Build a personal brand, deliver an unbelievable experience, and you will have absolutely nothing to worry about.